Hi everyone, it's Rebecca at The Good Switch. I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about cruelty-free certification, what that means, who does it, what the term cruelty-free means in the United States, and kind of walk you through the Good Switch process for determining how we recommend or don't recommend products, or that we recommend that you make a switch if you can. There are no U.S. regulations, nothing regulating the use of the term cruelty-free on any packaging. If you see cruelty-free, it could be cruelty-free or it could not be. It just sort of depends on the company, I guess, and what they're trying to achieve. But there are two official certification organizations. One is Leaping Bunny, and the other one is PETA. So Leaping Bunny is actually considered the most strict or the gold standard for cruelty-free products. They look at the brand, they look at the suppliers, it requires annual recertification, it requires, independent audits and really a lot of administrative work to make sure that they are on the Leaping Bunny certified program. Now, companies can be Leaping Bunny certified and not have the Leaping Bunny logo. That is a licensed logo that the company needs to pay for, and for various reasons they may choose not to. So you might be looking at a product in, store of choice, and you look and you say, oh no, there's no Leaping Bunny on here, or PETA, if that's the case. And you'd be able to say, well, I don't know if it's cruelty-free. It says cruelty-free, but how do I know? Well, likely you'll have to go check the database. Since there's no regulation on who can put cruelty-free on their product or who can use a bunny, it really requires a lot of extra research to figure out if you are supporting a company or a brand that tests on animals. The one thing Leaping Bunny doesn't do is certify that things are vegan. So you can still be on the Leaping Bunny approved list, but not be a vegan brand. PETA, on the other hand, uses what's called an assurance model. They actually get a signed, official contract or agreement from a brand saying, we don't test on animals, and our suppliers don't test on animals. Now, that is a sort of a voluntary, not audited contract or agreement, and that is how PETA does their certification. So sometimes what we'll do, if let's say PETA certifies a company or a brand, but Leaping Bunny doesn't, we might just put that in sort of the use caution bucket. Maybe you want to look at the parent company and see, do they test on animals? There are lots of different factors in why Leaping Bunny wouldn't be necessarily Leaping Bunny certified. It is a big administrative cost and burden. It requires yearly certification. So there are different variables there. So you always want to double check and kind of use your, read a little bit more and use your common sense. So Leaping Bunny is probably always going to be Daisy approved. PETA approved, but not Leaping Bunny is probably going to be in the caution. And then there's this third bucket where either PETA and Leaping Bunny have said they do test on animals, and therefore we want to try to make a switch, or they're not on either list, which is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So what I am doing, what we're doing here at The Good Switch, is actually going to the company website, doing research on the company to see, do they have an animal testing statement? What does it say? If it says we do not test on animals, great. I guess we'll take your word for it. Sometimes the company will say we don't test on animals except where required by law. And that actually usually sort of applies to products that are sold in China. China has in the past required certain products to be tested on animals before they're able to be sold in mainland China. So that is changing. Everything's very fluid. What we do is we try to give you information so that you can make the choice. If you are a purist and you don't want anything touching anything animal related, then it's a little bit more work, honestly, to figure out, you know, animal products, animal testing, parent company, where do they sell their products? So we're hoping to make that a little bit easier and more straightforward for the people who join us. And, you know, again, it might be imperfect. We might give you information that you don't agree with, and that's okay. It really is up to you. And if you use a product that you really like and it's good for you and your family, then by all means, if that's what you want to do, absolutely do it. It's a no judgment zone. So I hope that you will stick with us. I'm getting ready to do my skincare audit. I did go through my sort of cabinet to see, you know, how I did. I mean, I do my best, but I'm not perfect, and you're going to find out. So thanks for your time. Thanks for coming to The Good Switch. We hope you find our information informative and helpful. Thanks.